Alright. The story where the girl and her mother went shopping later during the evening. And when they came home, they found everybody asleep in the house. And the mother forgot her keys, and so they knocked loudly on the front door, the back door, the side door, and nobody answered. They yelled the father's name over and over again, no answer. They blew the car horn and aroused the neighbors' attention, but no one answered. So they finally called the phone, and the teenage son answered the phone to let him in. Well, the mother went to upstairs to the bedroom, and here the husband was laying on the bed asleep with the TV blaring. And so she quietly went over to the TV and turned it off. And right away he popped up and says, "Don't turn that off." He said, "I'm watching that." So there's several applications to this little story that could be made here, but mine is Dad's asleep while the world show rushes on. Dad may be asleep in regard to everything else that's going on, including the Lord. And what about us? Are we asleep? In Romans 13, verse 11, and that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believed. One thing you can be sure of, it's one day closer. It's 1 week closer. In Romans 13:12, the night is far spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Paul's saying that the grand finale of salvation is almost here. The time is closer than it's ever been. We need to wake up. Now there's a comic strip, Calvin and Hobbes. Calvin's boss is watching him sitting at his desk staring out the window. "Why aren't you working, Calvin?" Without much thought, Calvin confessed to his boss, "Because I didn't see you coming." In many ways, we are asleep and we don't see what's coming. Consequently, we are not working for Yahweh. We are only busy involved with life's pursuits. Matthew 24:3, and as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, "Tell us, when shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming, and of the end of the world?" So here we have Yeshua sitting on the Mount of Olives. The disciples come to him privately and they say, "Tell us, when is this going to happen? What will be the sign of your coming in the end of the age?" The end. Those words don't sound good unless it's the end to a bad movie or the end to something bad that is happening to us in life. Then there is the end of the world, when Yahweh is going to put his foot down and, so to speak, and call everything to a halt. Some time ago, a man was staying at a cottage at the Swiss Alps. Early one morning, he heard what sounded like an earthquake. He hurries out of the bed and ran to the front desk, and he asked, "Is there something wrong?" If the mountains were breaking up. He was scared. The man at the front desk explained, "Sir, we are on the west side of the mountain. And as the sun comes up on the east, the snow and ice expand and they begin to warm. The expansion causes a large crashing noise. It's not the end of the world. It's just the beginning of a new day." What some consider to be the end of the world may only be the start of something better for us who are in Messiah. What's going to happen before the end? Yeshua talks about several things that we need to be aware of. There will be a worldwide chaos. There will be hatred of people. There will be false leaders. There will be much wickedness. There will be much preaching. The worldwide chaos. Matthew 24:6. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in different places. All these are the beginning of sorrow. Sounds like the news today, doesn't it? There will be worldwide chaos in the form of wars, famines, earthquakes before the end of the world. And of course, they've been happening for a long time, but some seem to be increasing. There's a joke about the doctor, an architect, and a lawyer were arguing over who's the oldest profession. Doctor said, well, first operation was performed on Adam, so the medical profession is the oldest. No, said the architect. Architectural planning and design was needed to create the earth and the universe out of chaos, so I represent the oldest profession. And then the lawyer said, where do you think chaos came from? Even though many people like to blame lawyers for many chaotic problems in our society, especially in America, I think, but wars are started by people, not particularly by lawyers. James 4, verse 1. From whence comes wars and fightings among you? Come there not hence, even of your lust that war in your members? You lust and have not. You kill and desire to have and cannot obtain. You fight and war and yet have not, because you ask not. Wars are started by selfish people in selfish countries. I remember 9/11 happened. I believe it was Colin Powell who said something like, terrorists hate us because they want what we have. This is basically why people in countries start wars. And then, of course, to add to our worldwide chaos, we have all kinds of famines and earthquakes and floods and tornadoes, hurricanes, tsunamis. And these happen simply because the planet Earth is winding down and wearing out. All I can say is, we don't need to add to any of this chaos in this world or our country. And how do we avoid this? In Romans 12, verse 17, recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, I'm glad he put that in there. As much as lies in you, live peaceably with all men. We must preach Yeshua. We must witness for Yeshua. We must speak for Yeshua. But do it as kindly and peaceable as possible. Now there will be hatred of people. Matthew 24:9. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated for all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. You see this too? A woman testified of the transformation of her life and had it resulted in her experience in conversion. She declared, I'm so glad I got religion. I have an uncle I used to hate so much, I vowed I would never go to his funeral. But now, why, I'd be happy to go to his funeral. Someone told the story, it is easy to become a slave to hatred in our hearts. A good friend of mine, Roy, became angry with another friend of mine, Lee, several years ago. Roy had never forgiven Lee for trespass, and Lee never knew that Roy was angry with him. Recently, I bumped into Roy and asked him if he was still mad at Lee. I sure am, he replied. I can't stand being in the same room as he is in. And then he asked Roy why he became so angry with Lee in the first place. His response was, I don't remember. It's been too long ago. I just remember that I'm mad at him. And that's the way the world is today. They're mad at somebody, and they don't know why. And I don't like the sound of this coming from this verse in Matthew 24, verse 9. You will be handed over to be persecuted, to be put to death, and you will be hated by all nations, and many will turn away from the faith and betray and hate each other. That's really bad. But it's the truth. I guess in some ways we shouldn't be too surprised when people turn away from the faith, drop out of the church, and stop going anywhere. It will happen to some people. Most people who drop out are either mad or dissatisfied for one reason or another, and they generally end up going to another church. And if they could be happy somewhere else, well, then so be it. But if people drop out and stay out of any and all believers' fellowship, then there's something seriously wrong. And you can expect some people like that to become very bitter and hateful, and perhaps even oppose Yeshua in the congregation. We can expect some persecution and or slander in this world if we take a stand for Messiah. For example, when was the last time you spoke up for Messiah at work? Did everybody love you for it? I doubt it. Thank Yahweh for those who do speak out for Messiah. But when you do, you may expect some criticism or opposition. However, we must confess Yeshua if we want him to confess us. And that even goes for your own family. Maybe I'm just getting older, but I don't fear speaking for Messiah like I once did. But we all should, regardless of the opposition in this world, always remember this as we see hatred increase in our world. Greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. 1 John 4, verse 4. You are of Yahweh, little children, and have overcome them, because greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. And of course there will be false leaders. In Matthew 24:4, and Yeshua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am Messiah, and shall deceive many. Matthew 24:11, and many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. False prophets and false Christ will make the scene in the last days. We all perhaps remember the prophet, so-called prophet Jim Jones of the Temple, Guyana tragedy in November 18th in 1978, when he lied to his followers and convinced them or commanded them to drink Kool-Aid laced with poison. 913 people were found dead, including Jim Jones. Jones thought he was the reincarnated Christ. All I can say is, it is appointed unto men once to die, but after this the judgment. In his case, it may well have been more judgment than for others. Then we have David Koresh. Remember that in the Branch Davidian in Waco, Texas? The shootout on April 93. David Koresh, his real name is Vernon Wayne Howell, was 19 years old. He supposedly became a born-again Christian in the Southern Baptist Church, but soon joined his mother's church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church. There he fell in love with the pastor's daughter. While praying for guidance, he opened his eyes and found the Bible open in Isaiah 34, which stated that none should want for a mate. Convinced this was a sign from God, he approached the pastor and told him that God wanted him to have his daughter for a wife. The pastor threw him out, and when he continued to persist with his pursuit of his daughter, he expelled him from the congregation. In 81, when he was 22, he moved to Waco, Texas, where he joined the Branch Davidians, and from there, it was apparently all downhill. Koresh took 80 people with him to their death in 1993. We must not be surprised that those who claim to be from Yahweh, or be Yahweh himself. Most of these false messiahs and false prophets are easy to spot, especially if you read the Bible. They can't fool you if you read and read and read the Bible. False leaders, we have to be careful about The false leaders we have to be careful about are those that are clever enough to invade the congregation and induce others to follow them rather than Yeshua Messiah. And it does happen. Then there will be much wickedness. Matthew 24, verse 12. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. An orator in Hyde Park in London was speaking against religion. He said, my hatred of religion is honestly come by. My grandfather was an atheist and my father was an atheist, and I thank God I'm an atheist too. Atheism is not good. Since the true atheist does not believe in Elohim, we also assume in some ways that they do not believe in good or doing good. They are responsible to no one since they don't believe in Yahweh. Therefore, anything they do is okay. G. Chesterton once said, it is often supposed that when people stop believing in God, they believe in nothing. Alas, it is worse than that. When they stop believing in a God, they believe in anything. And I would add, they will do anything evil or wicked. It doesn't matter. What should it matter if there is none? When wickedness increases, love will decrease. It's as simple as that. Nearly every week we hear horror stories of people killing, raping, stealing. Worse yet, we hear the horror of horror stories of people abusing and raping and molesting and killing children and babies. How Yahweh must hurt when he sees such wickedness. And he sees it all. If you hurt and cry when you hear such things, just think how much greater Yahweh's pain is. What can we do? What must we do? Even though the love of most will grow cold, our love must grow stronger for people. We must continue to love people as best we can and as strongly as we can in order to fight against the evil in our world. 1 Peter 4, verse 7. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober, and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins. And then we come to much preaching. Matthew 24:13. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. The one good thing I see about the end of the world is there will be more preaching of the gospel. Yahweh's people will step up the pace of their preaching and witnessing. And I say, so be it. We all need to be witnessing more and speaking out more for Yeshua. May Yahweh increase your lot. May Yahweh increase your faith to the point where we will do more, witness more, speak more. When Campbell Morgan was a young Christian, he used to visit several elderly ladies a week to read the Bible to them. When he came to the end of Matthew's Gospel, Morgan read, Lo, I am with you always, even unto the end of age. And then he added, isn't that a wonderful promise? One of the ladies quickly replied, young man, that's not a promise. It's a fact. It is a fact that Yeshua will be with us to the very end of life, no matter how it comes. Therefore, let's preach Yeshua Messiah. When the infidel Robert Ingersoll was delivering his lectures against Christ in the Bible, his speaking ability usually assured him of a large crowd. One night after an inflammatory speech in which he severely attacked man's faith in the Savior, he dramatically took out his watch and said, I'll give God a chance to prove that he exists and is almighty. I challenge him to strike me dead within 5 minutes. First there was silence, then people became uneasy, and some left the hall, unable to take the nervous strain of the occasion, and one woman even fainted. At the end of the allotted time, the atheist exclaimed, "See, there is no God. I'm still very much alive." After the lecture, a young fellow said to a lady, "Well, Ingersoll certainly proved something tonight." And her reply was, "Yes, he did. He proved God isn't taking orders from atheists tonight." That's true. My point is simply this. Yahweh decides when the world will come to an end. Not the super people or the superpowers of this world. He alone is the superpower of the universe. When that time comes, every knee will bow and every tongue will confess Yeshua Messiah is Lord to the glory of Yahweh the Father. Yahweh bless.